Okay, everybody, welcome to class. Thanks for coming to Algebra 1, Chapter 2.5. Today we'll be talking about percentages and decimals. Let's get started. The first thing you need to understand about this symbol right here, we say percent, and what it means is per hundred. And literally, this is what this means. It's like having this number multiplied by this, 100th. So 100% translates to 100 out of 100, which equates to 1. So that's probably something you should always remember. When you see 100%, that means 1. So 100% of something means 100% multiplied by that something. Now, the other thing you need to remember is you need to understand that this also doesn't just mean 100th. Well, correction. It does equal 100th. But what I meant was, if we want to describe this in decimal form, here it is. And literally, this is how we say it. 100th. 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 This you really should commit to memory. So if what I said is true, 100 multiplied by the 100th should look like this. And just a side note, look how I'm using a dot here and a dot here. That's why I have put parentheses here. Now, if we do our math like I have done several times, and I hope you catch on to this, if we just look at our numbers, I have 100 times 1, that's gonna be 100. And if I move my decimal place, correction, I haven't been doing that. If I look and see how many decimal movements I have, there's 1, there's 2, then I find my decimal point in my final answer, which hopefully you know is here. And like I checked my 2 decimal movements, I'll do the same with this one, which gives me 1.00, which gives me 1, and that's what I should have expected because I started with 100%, and earlier we saw 100% equals 1. All right, so here are some percentages. These are all percentages, and quickly I'm going to show you these in decimal form. And notice I've just moved my decimal over to the left. My imaginary decimal that is here, I've moved it to the left twice. Here, I've moved my decimal to the left twice again, had to put in the 0 to compensate for nothing being in that 100th spot. Moving my decimal to the left this time, I had to add 2 zeros. Here's my answer. 311% converts to 3.11. This is kind of interesting. I'll let you tease your brain and look at this, think over it for a minute or so, and see what you come up with. I'd like this in decimal form. So you should get 1/2 times 0.01. This one is, I'm wondering, can you get there? All right, this is what I get. Here I would multiply 5 times 1, move my decimal point 3 spot, and this would be 0.5%. All right, to end this section, we're going to do a couple word problems here. So let's start with this one. What number is 16% of 70? Now, when it says what number, I'm just going to put an X because it's saying that's the question, what number? So I'm going to put X to represent the number, what's ultimately going to be my answer. What number is usually equates to an equals sign. And then 16% is given, so I'm just going to write it down. Now here the word of means multiply. I hinted at that earlier. Here we very clearly see it does mean multiply. So here I have the problem. X equals 16% times 70, or what number is 16% of 70? Now, this might look weird, but it's correct. 16% times 70 gives me 112%. That percent sign does not go away until I take care of my decimal movement. And really, if you could pull out your calculator. I did not. I said 7 times that one is like 70. And I said 7 times 6 is like 42. So I got 120, and then 112, I did do this in my head. And then with that 0 there, I just tacked it on, so 1,120%. Now to get rid of the percent sign, I do my decimal movement, and I get 11.2. So 11.2 is 16% of 70. And if you kind of think that through, yeah, that sounds about right. For this next problem, it's basically going to go the same way. The number 88, correction, and it's slightly different. So let's read through. The number 88 is what percent times 1,000? And I decided to write it this way with the parentheses and the percentage side on the outside. As it turns out, that's actually not going to matter. After I do my calculation, this whole thing will be my answer. Looking closely, I just have to divide by 1,000. On my right side, things cancel. Now over here, I'm going to do a little slick move because I want you guys to start catching on to this stuff. When doing this, you should know that this is 88 divided by 1,000, or 88 times 1,000th. And here is 1,000th. Again, this I would hope you're quickly doing all in your head. Looking at the multiplication, 88 times 1 is 88. And then I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 decimal movement. Okay, so here is where I end up. And now this is going to take some thinking and observing. When it says the number 88 is what percent of 1,000, when I divided by 1,000, that really changed the problem to what percent is this number? Think on that for a few, and then I'll show you the math here. Moving to my left, I show that this is 8.8%. And that's really what I'm looking for. I was looking for a percentage. So this one you have to think through. I left a percentage out to kind of represent what was happening here. But to answer the question, the number 88 is what percent of 1,000? 88 is 8.8% of 1,000. Thank you for coming to class. This was actually Algebra 2.5. Thanks for coming. I'll see you next time.